If you're watching this video, then you're probably wondering why fat loss gets harder and harder over time. And in this video, that's what we're going to be breaking down. Now imagine walking up a mountain, and every time you move closer to the peak of that mountain, the gradient became steeper and steeper. You cover less ground and it becomes more exhausting just to move forward. Welcome to what fat loss is like as you diet for long periods of time. There's something called metabolic adaptation, which is ultimately described as the body's process of adjusting its energy expenditure, how many calories you burn, in response to the change in calorie intake and metabolic rate to conserve energy because it wants to be at homeostasis. So ultimately, when you diet and start to eat less calories, your body is not a fan because your body thinks that you're starving if we throw back to the evolutionary times. So what your body does, instead of just continuing to operate as normal, it actually down-regulates your metabolism so that you burn less calories. So it's going to decrease your drive to walk, to expend energy, because it literally thinks that you're dying. Because if you stayed in a calorie deficit for a number of years, the ultimate result is you ending 6 feet underground in a coffin because you're going to die and starve to death. So your body doesn't want that. So what it does is it kind of down-regulates how many calories you burn throughout the day. This also happens the other way around. So if you increase your calories and go into a calorie surplus, which is what you need for bulking, sometimes your body can actually increase the amount of calories that you burn because it wants to kind of stay where it is. Because on the other side of the evolutionary scale is if you keep eating and you just get fatter and fatter and fatter, that's also not healthy for your body. So some people have this more than others, but they can, like, if they try to bulk and they increase their calories, their body has an increased drive, so increased metabolic rate, so increased drive to burn more calories throughout the day to try and cancel out that increase in calories. Now, that doesn't mean if you eat 1,000 calories above and you go to McDonald's and just smash a big meal, that you're going to burn it off somehow just by walking around and blinking faster and fidgeting more. But there is some level to increasing by, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 to 200, 300 calories that you may increase the amount of calories that you burn to kind of level that off. So to come back to that fat loss thing, metabolic adaptation, where your body decreases your metabolic rate so that you don't die from starvation, let's tackle, if you want to keep losing weight, how to overcome it. I've got 4 tips for you. So if you want to continue to lose weight, the really simple solution, simple but not easy, is to decrease the amount of calories that you eat. So let's say if you're burning this amount of calories per day and you're consuming this amount, this gap here is the calorie deficit. That's where we lose the body fat. But if metabolic adaptation comes along and stops you burning as many calories, that calorie deficit is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually it may even cancel out. So you're going to stop losing weight. So what you would do is decrease the calories again. So then there's another calorie deficit here, and then that's where you lose weight. The problem with that is you just keep eating less and less and less and less and less, and that's miserable and it's hard. And your body doesn't like eating less and less and less calories. Metabolic adaptation is going to continue to try and preserve your energy. So you can do that for a while, but if you keep doing that forever, it's going to be very hard because you may diet on 1,500 calories, end up on 1,300, 1,100, then you're trying to eat 900 calories a day just to lose fat? It's not worth it. The second way to do it is to increase your calorie expenditure. So how much you move. A really simple way to do that is if you get 10,000 steps a day. If you go to 12,000 steps per day and keep all your calories and training the same, then that extra 2,000 steps that you get per day is going to help you to burn more calories and help you to continue to create this calorie deficit. Number 3 is you could try and have a longer in duration and a slower cut. And this is how I prefer to diet. So instead of trying to diet quite aggressively, because your body goes, oh, there's a big change in calories, I need to stop burning as many calories. If you do a slow and steady cut and slowly try to lower your weight, metabolic adaptation can be slightly less. Number 4, you want to look at your satiety or your fullness, how much fiber you're eating, the food volume that you're consuming. So if you're, I don't know, let's say for dessert, if you're having half a tub of ice cream, it's like 1,500 calories, it's a ton. If you were to increase your food volume and have like a big bowl of fruit, mangoes, watermelon, rockmelon, berries, you can have a lot of food volume for less calories. So it's going to help you to feel more full, but have less calories. And that feeling of fullness can help offset metabolic adaptation because your body's kind of not detecting as much food loss because you have that food volume in your stomach with the increased fiber. And also look at the hyperpalatability of food, so how tasty your foods are. If you're eating foods that aren't very filling, that aren't very high in fiber, that don't have much food volume and taste super amazing, you're probably going to really struggle if you stick to your calories because you're not going to feel full. And then that metabolic adaptation, that decrease in energy is going to be even stronger. Now, if you want to gain weight, but you can't because as soon as you start to eat more, you kind of move a bit more and it just kind of seems to cancel out, let's talk about how to overcome that quickly. 4 tips. Number 1 is increase your calories. So if you're not eating enough calories, or if you eat more and then start burning more, unfortunately, you need to just keep eating more calories. So that's pretty common sense. Number 2 is actually decrease how many calories you burn throughout the day. So you're doing the opposite of what I said before. If you get 10,000 steps a day, maybe you can look at bringing them down to 8,000, which is going to help you burn less calories and create that calorie surplus for you. Number 3 is actually drinking more calories. So it's easier to consume more calories when you drink calories. So chocolate milk can be your best friend, fruit juices can be your best friend, protein shakes can be your best friend, throwing things in the blender and drinking calories. It's much easier to drink calories than to eat them. So that can be a good way to increase your calories. And then number 4 is decreasing the amount of fibrous foods, filling foods, food volume, and looking at increasing the palatability of your food. So you're ultimately doing the opposite of everything that I said before. So you're trying to eat foods that don't fill you up, that don't have fiber in them, that don't have much volume to them, and they taste amazing. That's how you get more calories in. So with metabolic adaptation, ultimately the main thing that we try to focus on is trying to offset that so that we can continue to lose fat, because most people want to get leaner as opposed to bulking. Now, the biggest fix to this in terms of facing metabolic adaptation is just trying to potentially diet for shorter amounts of time. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm going to go on a 6-month diet, you're already going to fail because you can't diet for that long. Metabolic adaptation is going to catch you. What I like to do is just go for periods of dieting no longer than 12 weeks, so 3 months. You're in a calorie deficit every day. But once you diet, you need to get out of it and get into calorie maintenance or get into a calorie surplus, because that's going to help rejuvenate you. That's going to help you overcome metabolic adaptation because you're no longer in a deficit. So here's a quick formula if you're trying to get leaner and how to structure your diets. Look at the date that you want to be lean on. Maybe it's Christmas Day, maybe it's your wedding day, maybe it's your birthday, and work back from that. Maybe work back 8 weeks from that, work back 12 weeks from that, and diet until you get there and then stop. You need to have a plan. You need to have an exit plan, because if you just say, I'm just going to diet. Like if you talk to a lot of people, sometimes people just diet forever, but they're not actually doing it right and they're not making any progress. But if you sit down and you say, look, I'm only dieting for 8 weeks and then I'm going to maintenance, you can still lose 8 kilos. You can lose 5 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds, like 20 pounds, 10 pounds. You can lose that in about 8 weeks. But then once you've done that, you go to maintenance. Don't try to keep dieting. You need to take a pit stop. Just like a Formula One car, you can't just keep driving laps, trying to lose weight. You're going to spin out, crash and burn. You're going to end up binge dieting or binge eating. Strategically, drive an amount of laps until you start feeling that kind of burnout. Everything gets hard. Metabolic adaptation's coming to get you. Take a pit stop. Take a diet break for 2 to 4 weeks, and then you can continue going after that. And I believe that's the best way to overcome metabolic adaptation. If you want to be coached, I have a link to my coaching app in the link in the description. And right here is going to be another video of mine breaking down some no BS fitness advice. Check that out here. Thanks for watching.